AI-based applications, particularly in terms of how AI and what models are being utilized for the healthcare sector. First of all, we'll focus on the classification. I'll walk you through some of the classifications which are important from the standpoint view of understanding the landscape of the research which is ongoing and which will be fundamental for most of the folks to review the models in terms of how and what models should be utilized or what models should be proprietary in nature to understand the healthcare sector in a fast, speedy manner. So first of all, we'll talk about the classifications here. One of the important classifications is we have to take into account DNA-based classifications, or what are the categories in which the research has been pre-divided. One of the classifications which is very important, that is C12N15/907. Now this is particularly related to the introduction of stable foreign DNA into chromosomes using homologous recombination in mammalian cells. Now, when we talk about CRISPR technology or understanding CRISPR, there has been a lot of work which is ongoing and which has already been done in the labs, but the disconnect right now is between the stakeholders and the understanding of the stakeholders and the research organizations. So there would be pivot of some kind in 2026, and we are already seeing that at an international level where different organizations are discussing that how to do a good research which has been done and which has already been which has case studies, use case studies in terms of the CRISPR technology per se. Okay, next, for the understanding of active non-coding nucleic acid, we have, or the classification is C12N15/111. Then for RNAs and DNAs, that is ribonuclease or deoxyribonuclease, we have C12N9/22. So it's C12N9/22. And particularly when we're talking about gene sequencing or we're talking about gene policing, what is important here is to understand the introduction of enzymes for the cutting process itself. For that, we have A61K38/43, that is enzymes, proenzymes, and derivative thereof. Then definitely vectors are utilized for the transportation. So vectors containing a transposable element, it is under C12N2800/90. Okay, this is one aspect which I wanted to discuss. Do I wish to discuss this application? We can leave this application for now because I just want to have a very generic understanding of the landscape, and this classification itself can be utilized in multiple ways. Okay, next we have for the classification of artificial image objects created from omic data. So this is a part of computational biology. So this will be very useful for the computational biology part, and particularly there's a term called as AIOS, that is artificial image objects. So I'll walk you through this because I think this is important from the standpoint view of understanding what has been ongoing in the computational biology world. Okay, so this is basically ICT based applications, and for the ICT based applications we have biostatistics. So whenever different data sets are being utilized, biostatistics play one of the pivotal roles, or I would rather say it's a fundamental of computational biology when the calculations have to be done with the data which is being recorded at any given point of time. So ICT adapted for biostatistics, bioinformatics related to machine learning and data mining, that is including, or an example could be knowledge discovery or patent finding. For that we have G16B40/00. Then supervised data analysis, we already talked about it, but not in terms of the computational biology. However, supervised data analysis itself is G16B40/20. Okay, for the individual health risk assessment, if you're utilizing the ICT, it will be around G16H50/30. That is medical simulation on medical data mining. ICT adapted for detecting, monitoring, and modeling the epidemics or the pandemics for calculating the health index um, for individual health risk assessment, kind of a SWOT analysis. Okay, let's just quickly get into this understanding of what is being done in this particular research. So give me a moment, I'll just fetch the data. Okay, so computational flow diagram for identifying or to spot a biological trait. It is to feed the subject data trait into um, different bits. So here we already have a control trait data which has been pre-trained, and then we are turning each individual's bit into a image which is not real, but it's a fake image, but it is color coded by types. So we keep both the control image and the training deck simultaneously. Train an AI to tell which color combination is marking the trait. So it's basically training it on the models which are already available. Then we are running the train AI on the subject image, and it splits the odds and the traits are identified. So it's a very basic one. Okay, and I'm not getting into the semantics of the latitude and longitude. Let's just get into the understanding of another application here. So this is an artificial intelligence engine architecture which is utilized for generating candidate drugs. Okay, for the molecular design, so you can say computational biology and biostatistics with the amplification of AI is being researched right now, or already it is part of the protocol for last couple of years. So in this particular example, we have the molecular design. Example could be drugs, and that is under the classification of G16C20/50. Then we have probabilistic networks, that is under G06N3/043. For non-supervised learning, example competitive learning, we have G06N3/088. Then for Hopfield network, which is interesting, one should definitely study about this if you're trying to understand the AI in the healthcare sector. G06N3/044. So we have this. Okay, let's try and understand. We have a couple of modules here. So I'll walk you through the modules just to understand how they just bifurcated the data sets. So let's understand this part. Okay. So here we are creating a data set around biocontext map. So the terminology which is being utilized is mapping the data which is already there with us. It's just that is always how the data is being subdivided into different parameters. That's how the slicing is done of the data. Here we need people from different backgrounds because we need to understand the mindset as to how the same data would be treated by individuals from different sectors. So, for example, a microbiologist is going to divide the data set of healthcare in a very different fashion. A person like me, who is from a biotechnology and food tech background, is going to bifurcate it into biotech part and the food tech part. And particularly, I have a lot of understanding about or around biochemistry, so I'll take that um, articulation also into the division, how I divide the data into different parameters. Okay, now here what we are doing is, because we have a biocontext mapping, we are inverting the new protein drugs, tweaking it what if way. What if is a an hypothesis is what if we say this is what it has to do. So the functionality aspect, what is going to happen. So a lot of data sets are created, and a lot of research is being done right now around that. And now what we are trying to look into is, particularly in this particular case, they develop a 3D cloud with the node, and they cut out thin slice, and they are asking the decoder to trade it into three categories. um, that is structure, activity, meaning. Then they're scoring as to how useful the slice is. If it is weak, the generator is told to skip. So here human intervention is involved. Now 2026 is all about what to so human intervention per se has to be identified at different levels of the flow diagrams when we are trying to understand the data sets. So that is where a lot of research or work will undergo in terms of just identifying where the human intervention should be compulsory and where it should be optional. So this is repeated, but one would be able to appreciate, somebody who has been very active in research, particularly from the biochemistry point of view, that even a blood sample of different individuals in the similar um, family tree would give very different results. So that is something one has to look into. So this is done. I'll just discuss one more application and we'll sign off for now. Okay. Okay. So there's a term called as RUL. RUL stands for remaining useful life. So this is predictive maintenance. This is under the classification of G05B23/0283 that involves the monitoring of a system based on the monitoring results and taking decisions on the maintenance schedule of the monitored system. An example of that is estimating the remaining useful life. Perhaps I'll walk you through this because it talks a little bit about the digital twins also, and digital twins is something one should be looking into understanding in a proper format, because it's still at a very early stage where what is a digital twin per se. Okay, so it is talking about enterprise and organization modeling, which is under G0 6Q10/087. Okay, so what are we developing here? Let's see this. So it has methods, systems, developing kits, anything under the sun with certain protocols into certain protocols which are taken into developing these modules. Okay, so particularly this research is around digital product network system, and what is being done here is this. When we say network system, it means there is somebody at the admin side, there is somebody at the user side, there is somebody at the server side, and the like. Okay, so in this particular case, we have a product network interface, and the programming is done around having a control tower. So your server is being replaced by the term control tower, and having a control tower memory. So now new way of writing the research papers is being your own lexicographer. I think I have discussed this earlier also, and perhaps again we are emphasizing on this. Okay, now there's a digital twin system defined at least in part by at least one of the product instructions on the control tower instructions to encode a set of digital twins representing the set of digital products. Okay, this is done. Okay, let me see. I really wanted to just understand the digital twin part a little bit more as to what they mean by digital twin in this case. Just give me a moment. Okay. Nothing much has been written. Okay. We'll just discuss about the digital twin part. Okay. Okay, the interesting part here is the parameters which are taken as dynamic models as for the data is concerned. That is something I wanted to just discuss, which is something which I feel I have seen after a very long time. So the parameters here are set of vibrations, temperature, pressure, radiation, audio, video, image, water level, quantum, flow rate. I think everything under the sun has been written here. Signal power, signal frequency, motion, displacement, velocity, acceleration, lighting level, financial, cost, stock market, news, social media, revenue, worker, maintenance, productivity, asset performance, worker response time, analyte concentration, biological compound concentration, metal concentration, and organic compound concentration data. I mean, this includes a whole gamut of somebody who understands how data could be bifurcated into different parameters. So, this is something interesting here. Okay, this has been done. So let's just understand this part, which is around the digital twin, and this is somehow the synopsis of what I wanted to discuss today, and then we'll just wrap up the stuff. Okay. When we're trying to understand digital twin, so it's taking digital twin as a registry service, which is resolving the request against the map which is generated, and it has a model registry and the others. Perhaps what I think is I will discuss this in detail maybe tomorrow. I'll go through the data sets and understand. It includes blockchain also. So I didn't want to discuss blockchain today, but perhaps it has use case studies for blockchain. So that is something I'll discuss maybe tomorrow. Thank you for watching it out. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn and send your DMs, and we can identify where we can work together in 2026. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.